Hey guys, how's it going? This is Dilmer again and welcome back to my channel. So I'm pretty excited today because I'm going to be talking about adapting to change, and I want to focus on actually multiple areas. I want to talk about changes in your life, changes in your basically your day job, changes in your game development career, changes in technology, and how do we actually adapt to some of those things and some of those changes that happen to us overnight. And the reason why I want to talk about this is because I'm actually going through a lot of changes. I've been going through a lot of changes at work. I've been going through a lot of changes in my game development life. I've been getting a lot of changes in my life. So how do we actually adapt to making so many changes, and how do we take it one step at a time? So a lot of people ask me, Dilmer, how do you learn so many languages? How do you actually get over learning Objective-C, then moving into Swift, and then also learning to use Unity game engine, Unreal game engine, C++, and also changes in my life, changes in my routine. As a game developer, we have to do a lot of things. We have to wear many hats. Sometimes we need to be an artist, sometimes we need to be a salesperson, sometimes we need to be a developer. So those are a lot of things that we need to deal with. So what do we do? How do we tackle those things? And that's what I want to talk about in this video. And I want to start with the mentality of tackling things one thing at a time, one at a time. So if you're focusing on the entire scope, you're gonna get overwhelmed pretty easy. So every time that I work on on bigger projects, I try to focus as much as I can on features and then breaking those features out into tasks. And that works well with big projects, that works well with smaller projects, and that works in life as well. So I even have a Trello board where I keep all the tasks that I need to do on a daily basis. I might need a task for changing the oil in my car. I may need a task to taking my dog to the vet. There's just a lot of things that you can track, and I know that it might be a little bit overwhelmed to to be able to do so much and also track all the things that you have to deal with. But whenever you're trying to adapt to change, and if it's with a new technology, for example, I'm learning C++ right now. So when I was learning C++, this was years ago when I went to college, I remember walking into a class and then the professor giving me a lecture on the core functionality, basically the core semantics of the language. And I'm not gonna lie to you, all that information went basically through my head. Basically from one ear to another ear, I didn't know what the professor was saying. I didn't understand programming. And after going through that, and then I took other classes, I started learning. Of course, I graduated, I became a developer, so now it's much easier to understand how a programming language works. So I had a challenge, and a challenge for me was, okay, I knew Objective-C, I knew Swift, I'm pretty good at C#, and how can I learn C++? I want to be able to learn C++ because Unreal Engine is using C++. So I decided to learn the fundamentals. I decided to basically just basically walk through a tutorial online and understand the semantics of the language, what are the core functionalities of the language, how do I do an if statement, how do I do an else, what is a pointer, how do I create a class, how do I create inheritance, how do I do polymorphism in C++. So there's a lot of things that I needed to learn, but I didn't want to just basically go through all that and not do anything, because I think anytime we want to learn something new, and especially if it's a big change like that, from going from a higher level language to a lower level language, it can be overwhelming. And for me, what has worked in the past is I try to do milestones. I start to learn, okay, today I'm going to be learning pointers. I try to go through and basically practice, not only read it, but also do examples and actually write it myself. So another thing that I do is once I go through a series of basically tutorials, basically examples that I actually created on my own, I try to do a project. So I don't really like learning and then not doing anything with it. I actually like to create a project with anything that I do. So with the C++ language, I want to create basically a simple bank application where I can actually look at all the transactions, I can log in, and something very simple just to give me an idea on how to use the language. And I'm going to be using Cocos 2D. and that will basically give me a lot more information on what I need. So I actually can apply it, I can actually do a project, I can practice the language. So how does that apply to change? The reason that applies to change is because I'm used to C#. So now I am doing C++, but I'm actually making a project out of it. So whenever you are trying to make, to change things, you have to be basically patient. You have to learn the core functionality. You have to set milestones for yourself. So how does that apply to a team? So I have another example. I actually worked with a team for a long time, for about 6 to 7 years, and we built an amazing team. We had, the core developers. We knew who was skilled in different levels. We had a great product owner. We had a great Scrum Master. We had a really solid team. But that team didn't form overnight. That team has been working together for a long time. So that team, basically, we built credibility with each other. We knew who to go to if there was an issue. We knew who was, brilliant in certain areas. So working in that team was great. And then, all of a sudden you go from one team where you're working well, where you know those people, even on a personal level, and then you get moved to another team, even though it's within the same company. It can be challenging, and it can be challenging because now you don't really feel like that credibility is there because you build it with that other team. Now you have to do it all over again, and it is hard. It is really, really hard. I actually went through that process, but what's the beautiful thing about it is you got to remember how you started in that other team. You started as basically in the learning mode. Now you move to a new team. You do have more experience, but you have to build credibility with that team. You have to get to know each other. You have to be, willing to help them out. You have to be willing to, get involved in the team. And that's what I've been doing. I've been trying to, I get involved in that team. I work with that team. I've been building a lot of different things in the team. So overall, it's been building a lot of credibility. We are working well together, but in the beginning it was really hard because we didn't know each other. We had a lot of questions. We didn't know who to go to. We knew the skills were there, but we never worked together. So change was hard. At the beginning, I was coming home and I was feeling a little overwhelmed because I wanted to contribute with that team. They had a team that team has been working together for a long time. And then all of a sudden I get moved to that team and I'm basically a newcomer. So how do I deal with, with changes? And it's like everything in life, if you gotta be willing to have patience, you gotta be willing to be learning. I joined that team, I started learning as much as I can. I basically cloned all the repositories that they had. I started learning the domain knowledge that I needed to be in that team. I was patient with myself, but my goal was to be, to be good, to build credibility, to actually contribute to that team. So that applies to, even if you need to get a new job and, you might get overwhelmed at first, but that's what you gotta do. You gotta be patient. You gotta be, going with the mentality of, being a learner. Even if you get hired at a senior level, you still have a lot to learn. So my best advice that I give everybody, even if you're, if you're starting a new job at a senior level, you gotta be willing to, basically learn as much as you can. You're gonna jump in, you're gonna be meeting new people, you're gonna have to learn new technologies, you're gonna have to learn the new domain. So be patient with yourself, don't get overwhelmed. Take one thing at a time, and there's actually a lot of excitement about doing that. You're gonna be learning a lot of new cool stuff. You're gonna be learning a lot about new people. So that is exciting, even on on the project level where I was talking about learning C++, learning a new programming language. That's amazing. So the takeaway from this video is that you gotta be, wear basically a student hat. Wear a student hat, be a learner all the time. Make sure that you're patient, make sure that you are as patient as you can with yourself, and by all means, set up milestones. So whenever you're learning something new, even if you are a senior person, make sure that you're setting milestones for yourself. Don't get overwhelmed by not knowing everything. That's okay. Just set milestones and start with one thing at a time. And then you're gonna see that in a few months, you're gonna start to recognize patterns, to understand the domain, to basically, know people that you're working with and know the technologies that you're working with. So that's basically what I wanted to talk to you about in this video. If you guys have any other questions, let me know, and don't forget to subscribe and share this video. Thank you guys.